Hello, I'm Bob Lancer, and the purpose of this show is to lead you into the life you truly want to be living. It is also about helping you to better understand and relate with others, especially the children in your life, in support of their great potential. So this show is for anyone who wants to live with more peace and purpose and positive power to soar into the fulfillment of our greatest promise. The experience that you have is exactly what you are making it. It may seem that your child is behaving in a way that causes you to be frustrated, but your frustration comes from the way you deal with what's happening. Now, if you have a belief that you need to make something happen, even if it means you have to be frustrated in the process, well, then you're going to ignore how you feel and push for the result you think is necessary. What if you question that belief? What if you began paying closer attention to your experience of your relationship with your child in the present moment? You are creating your destiny right now. If you'll focus on the present moment, try to stay focused on the present moment with your mind not going back to the past or the future, but just stay focused on the present moment and notice how you feel. You will automatically begin making adjustments that help you to feel better. Here, let's use a practical example. Arguing. Painfully arguing with a child. The only reason that you argue is because you think that arguing is more important than how you feel. Because if you just focused on how you feel while you are arguing with your child, you would discover, you would see very clearly that the more you argue, the more you suffer. You create your own suffering in your attempt to either resist what your child is saying or to try to force your child to stop resisting what you're saying. And you might be convinced that you have to get this point across to your child, that you must argue with your child, that you must make your child see that what you want him to do is something he needs to do. Or see that your understanding of a situation is the understanding that he should have. And you may really believe that. Let's say your young child doesn't want to go to his swim lesson. And so you start arguing with him to try to persuade him. And your reasoning for doing this is that if he doesn't learn how to swim, he can drown. That you're just trying to save his life. And that you have to get him to go to this swim lesson at all costs, or he's going to die. And in an emotional state, we actually live in that kind of confusion. Here you are in an emotional state of intensity. You're not happy. You're not feeling relaxed. You're not feeling secure. You're not feeling fulfilled. You're fighting to try to get your point across, to try to convince your child of something. And you believe with all your heart in that moment that you must do this. But if you question the belief, become honest enough with yourself to realize that while you can logically be convinced that you must do this, you may not have to do this. You may not have to argue. You may not have to nag. You may not have to yell. You may not have to plead. You may not have to worry. You may not have to rush. You may not have to approach parenting in a way that makes you suffer. Sometimes people think, well, if you're trying to avoid suffering in your parenting, you're just being selfish. That you have to suffer. You have to place your child's interests ahead of your own, or you're not truly a loving parent. But the problem with that is that you are modeling the way you live for your child. And the way you're living when you are causing yourself to live with stress and strain and anger and frustration and arguing and pleading The way you're living in that moment is not good for you. It's not healthy. It makes you depressed. It makes you more angry. And it's physically not good for you. Can you imagine someone who goes to a doctor with a physical problem and the doctor suggests to them, well, what you need, ma'am, is you just need more anger and stress. That's what'll fix you up. No, the doctor will say what you need is more peace, more harmony, more love. And the parent said, I would love to get that peace and harmony, but my child is driving me crazy. Well, I guess we have to go and fix that child. No. If your child is driving you crazy, it's pointing to a weakness within you. It means that when circumstances are not going the way you expect, you behave in a way that is self-destructive. When you're not getting your way, you're behaving in a way that is self-destructive because you think you have to, when deep down inside, the truth is you really don't know if this is necessary. The only thing you can know for sure is that it's making you unhappy, miserable, depressed, exhausted, and sick. It's aging you. It's taking away the joy of life. And the more you engage life in a mode that causes you to feel frustrated and unhappy and anxious, the less capable you are of having really good, satisfying, loving relationships. In order for you to be in a relationship with someone that is mutually satisfying, that is positive, that gives you energy, that supports you with a positive energy of love and the joy of being together and harmonizing together, in order for you to have that kind of relationship with another human being, you've got to be basically balanced and centered in peace. You can't stand your child when you get into a mode of suffering, not when he doesn't do what you want, but when you deal with what he doesn't do in a mode that makes you feel miserable. Same thing in marriage. Your spouse does not drive you crazy. You drive yourself crazy in the way that you go about trying to control your spouse. There was an orderly process to creating an orderly, harmonious life. And it starts by how you treat you, because you are the instrument through which you impact your life. When you become angry and stressed out and nervous or unhappy, you are reacting in a way that is hurting you. You're feeling hurt, not by what someone said to you, but by your reaction to it. For example, if someone issued an insult to you, but they issued the insult in a language you didn't understand, you probably would have no reaction to that. Or let's say they issued the insult in a language you're just learning, and they told you that you are just a loudmouth, obnoxious person. Because you're new to the language, what you thought they said is, you are a lovely, well-spoken person. Your reaction is what has an impact on you. So you have your interpretation of what the person just said, and then you react to that interpretation. Those are activities that you are engaged in, and they constitute ways that you are treating yourself. How you are treating yourself is not just a matter of selfishness, because you can't be as loving and caring and considerate of other people when you're feeling angry, hurt, unloved, tired, unhappy. So in order to serve other people, you have to relate to yourself as a servant. And if you don't treat your servant well, your servant can't serve well. Are you starting to see how your experience of parenting is entirely your creation? Because the way you respond, the mode you get into to control or to guide or to direct your child, is something that you are doing to you. And you may feel or believe that you need to suffer, you need to be willing to suffer to get your point across, but you really don't know that that is necessary. What you do know is that the more you model self-destructive behavior for a child, the more you are instilling in that child a pattern of self-destruction. The solution to painful parenting is to practice being aware of how you are impacting yourself in the present moment. That's the beginning. You can extend from there an awareness of how you're impacting the child. But you can be absolutely certain that the degree to which you are mistreating yourself, your child is suffering in his relationship with you unnecessarily. Be aware in the present. That is where you will find your way. You have to be aware of the impact of your mode of functioning upon you. That means paying attention to your feelings. And you have the choice now. Do you want to trust joy, love, and peace as the foundation for making your life into the life you want it to be? You see, you get to choose what you place your faith in. Do you count on treating yourself in a way that makes you miserable as your path to success? Or are you going to count on functioning in a way that allows your love, your joy, your peace, your faith, your compassion to blossom from you in the moment? Make your choice, but don't blame your child if you're choosing inharmonious modes, painful modes of functioning to control your child. No matter how serious your child's trouble is, your way of dealing with it has an impact on you. And you can either trust that you can treat yourself well and do your best work, or that to do your best work, you must treat yourself in a way that if you carry it on incessantly, you're going to want to die because you're taking the feeling of life's value out of life. You can't appreciate the smell of a flower, the smile of a child. If you're finding it difficult to connect with the beauty of the world, if you can't see the beauty in your life, if your heart is not filled in the moment with gratitude, you are living in a way that you don't like. You're creating an experience that you don't want. You may think that you have to struggle and stress and rush and worry and hurry to be successful in your career, to make enough money, to get out of debt. What are you placing your faith in? Are you placing your faith in experiencing so much fear that you don't like living anymore? Are you working too hard to achieve your goals? Working too hard to achieve your goals is exhausting and it's depressing. And you only do it because you believe it's necessary, because that's where you're placing your faith. You don't know that it's necessary. You can logically explain why it's necessary, but you don't know that it's necessary to work in a way that makes you feel so unbalanced, so unfulfilled, that you want to die. Children are our great teachers of how to live properly. Watch a 5-year-old after a big meal. What does that 5-year-old start doing? Jumping up and down and playing and running and exercising fully, laughing, having a good time. That's great for digestion. It burns off the fat. It limbers up the muscles. What do adults do? They'll have a cigarette and a drink. Or they'll have a cup of coffee and talk. And what are they talking about? Are we having conversations that uplift and inspire and fulfill, or that just distract us from the boredom and the meaninglessness that we're feeling in the moment? What makes life feel meaningless? How can you get your moment to feel as meaningful as you want it to? By looking within you and following the guidance. We can call it the guidance of your soul, to make your moment a soulful, splendid experience right now. When you sacrifice your inner peace and your joy and your ability to feel love and gratitude and appreciation of the goodness and the beauty and the truth that is right now. It's a choice that you're making. That's an experience that you're giving yourself. One of the ways we do this unconsciously is when we get into a feeling of hope. I hope my situation changes. I hope my child does better. I hope that this will happen, and I hope that that'll happen. But what you're doing when you go into those feelings of hope, that you hope something will turn out a certain way, what you're doing on an unconscious level is turning your present moment into something you don't want. See, you're giving birth to the present moment, to your experience of the present moment. And the only reason you would hope for a certain outcome to happen is because you're basically giving yourself the suggestion that something undesirable can happen, that something bad can happen, that something less than absolutely fulfilling can happen, that each moment does not offer me the opportunity to experience complete and total fulfillment. Complete and total fulfillment is available to you now while your child is whining. It's available to you now while you're trying to get your child off to school or to church. It's available to you now when your child is demanding something after you've told him no 100 times. It's available to you when your siblings are treating each other in an unkind way. It's available to you when your spouse is refusing to really get what you're trying to say. It's always available. It's available to you when you're in debt. It's available to you when you have so much opportunity that if you don't act upon it, you think it might vanish. No matter what is going on in your life, you can trust in the good that is ever present if you choose to. And when you trust in the good that is ever present, you stop pushing to change things, to make things happen. The good is with you now. All the good you can want and desire is here now. Your ability to connect with this present moment. Just look for the abundance of goodness present now and stop negating the goodness because you can find fault with it. The more fault you find, the less fulfillment you have. Right now, where you are, you could be in your car, stuck in traffic. You could be in a room in the dark. Perhaps someone you love has left. Perhaps you have more bills to pay than money to pay it. What do you trust? What do you place your faith in? Take a deep breath and allow yourself to be at peace right now, to whatever degree you possibly can. If you're feeling very anxious or upset or angry, just pay attention to how you feel without resisting it. Keep your consciousness, though, focused in the present moment. Because the more present you are, the more you see how you are creating what you're going through. You see what you are making of this moment. Parenting is really about how to raise yourself. Because the most basic power you have in the way you relate to your child is the patterns that you model. To raise yourself means to align your functioning in such a way that you allow the birth, the unfoldment of your greater potential, your greater love and joy and inspiration and talents. But it starts with love. To raise yourself to love requires simply that you are aware of how you're feeling in the present moment and you are modulating yourself. You are governing your mode of functioning so that you are feeling basically balanced, at peace, and in harmony in the present moment. You're accepting God's gift of joy that is present right now, instead of struggling and overlooking your feeling of suffering caused by the way you're dealing with the present moment. As you do that, as you relate with yourself in a more caring, loving manner, you'll find automatically that the people in your life are losing the power to disturb you. That doesn't mean you don't care about them. It means that you are actually capable of relating with them in a much more caring, compassionate manner, no matter how they behave. They can't knock you out of your love for them. And in your love, when you pay attention to someone with your loving heart, from your loving space, you have a much more accurate sense of what they really need from you. You can't provide other people with what they need from you unless you're providing yourself with what you need to be a blessing in the life of your child. And you can't sense what's really good for the child when you're feeling angry. With awareness in the now, see the experience that you're creating for yourself in the present moment. Honor your feelings, and you will discover that it makes of you the very best parent that you can be, and it makes of the parenting experience a sacred, fulfilling one. And it allows your child to experience the sacred fulfillment of a beautiful childhood. And that's all the time we have for today's broadcast of Bob Lancer's Answers. To order a recording of today's show or of previous shows, and for more information about my work, check out my website at boblancer.com. Until we meet again, may your life be blessed with peace and love and the light of wise solutions that really work.